Great. Lizzie, we want to welcome you tonight. Thank you for joining us. We are so excited about the 23 people who are also on the call to hear about how we develop and sustain our personal brand. I am so excited about this topic. You think you have a personal brand, but you really don't know how you have it. And so this is going to shed some insight. So let me share with you about who Lizzie is. And here we go. Lizzie is a technology delivery lead for Nationwide Insurance, managing different strategic technology delivery projects and programs. Lizzie also leads the community involvement group for her company, Women in Tech Initiative. Their goal of introducing technology to young women, their goal is to introduce technology to women at a young age. This is a motivating factor for Lizzie, who shares the same experience of assessing the world of technology much later in her career. Besides, Lizzie is an adjunct at the Institute of Technology in Indiana, teaching enterprise risk management. Sounds exciting. Lizzie received her BA in Educational Administration and Curriculum Studies, master's degree in Business Administration, Project Management, and Human Resources Management from Keller Graduate School of Management. Lizzie is a PhD candidate, yay, at the Indiana Institute of Technology, specializing in global leadership and organizational management. An advocate against domestic abuse and human trafficking, Lizzie is the founder of the nonprofit JLU Global Foundation, using this as a platform to advocate and empower victims of abuse and human trafficking. Right? Lizzie serves as her alumni's personal and professional development committee chair. Besides a plethora of outdoor activities, Lizzie enjoys reading, trying different cuisines, and traveling the world with her girls. She is also very much in love with her Jeep Wrangler. Must be cute, and can go on about it forever. Welcome tonight, and I'm going to pass it back on to you, Lizzie.
Thank you so much. Wow, I couldn't even believe that was me you were talking about. Now, there goes my personal branding, right? So I'm really excited to be here. Thank you, Dr. Walker, for the opportunity. Today, I'm going to talk about developing and sustaining your personal brand. Why is this a topic of interest to me? Coming to the US as an immigrant, personal branding was a very foreign topic to me. I had no clue what that is. If you talked about branding, I would think more product branding, Coke, right? But when I landed my first corporate job, it almost seemed like I wasn't doing good enough. What was different was every time I had to go through my performance um, discussion, year-end performance review, I would hear you're doing excellent, you're so adaptable, you're really cool to work with, your co-workers love you, but I just wasn't getting promoted. Everybody would come within 1 year, 6 months to 2 years, there they are moving on to another position. So I had to really dig into it to find out why. The first thing I did, I started looking for mentors, somebody who would hold my hand and guide me through. So I found me a mentor who introduced me to the concept of branding. So what is personal branding, right? Everybody can say what they think is personal branding, but I did my little research and I came up with 4 definitions that resonated with me. I started with, of course, the dictionary definition, which is Webster, and it says personal branding is a characteristic or distinctive kind. It's a public image, a reputation or identity conceived of as something to be marketed or promoted. Now, I moved on to people's perception, right? Karen Kang, who's a personal branding specialist, she has books out there, she does a lot of training. She describes personal branding as your reputation. That's it, simple. Now, Lita Citron, a LinkedIn instructor, international personal brand specialist, she describes personal branding as an expectation of an experience. Now, that threw me off a little bit, but we'll get to that. Now, I had to go academic, right? As PhD candidate, it mattered to me that I understood what researchers actually think about this concept. And I pulled what really resonated with me. A few researchers got together and explored the concept of personal branding, and they define personal branding as such. It is a strategic process of creating, positioning, and maintaining a positive impression of oneself based in a unique combination of individual characteristics, which signal a certain promise to their target audience through a differentiated narrative and imagery. Lots of words, plenty of meaning. What you can see here is the connection of all the definitions. Almost the same thing, but spoken in different ways, right? So I decided to think, okay, so what is really personal branding? And in my mind, it is the backstage activity. It involves reflection, it involves sense making, it involves developing a strategy, plus the onstage performance, which is your impression management, feedback seeking, performance on the job that influences the perception of others. So there we go with branding. So what are the benefits of branding? Why does everybody talk about branding? Now, coming from my culture, it is not that big of a deal. But you know what they say? When you go to Rome, do like the Romans, right? In the US, branding is a big thing. We live in a world where everything changes. Nobody expected COVID. Here we are, working from our basements. How can you possibly brand? What are the benefits? Number one, it's highly rewarding. It presents to any individual opportunities. You have the opportunity to positively influence others. You have the reward of personal and professional growth. It also enables you to control your reputation and your legacy. We all love control. You want to be in control of what people think about you. You want to be in control of what people say about you. You know what they say? It doesn't matter what they say when you walk into the room. It really matters what they say when you leave the room. And that is when you don't get to hear it, right? Lita Citron, she had a really good example that I'm going to share with you. She talked about legacy, like think about your funeral. It's quite sensitive to think you will die, but of course we will all die. But think about your funeral. Going to be people who, your friends, your co-workers, your family, they may all have different impressions or perceptions about you. If they get on stage, they may say different things. But is that who you really are? Is that the legacy that you want to leave behind? Where the control factor comes in. So now that we know the benefits, we know it's rewarding, we know it's worth it, let's talk about how you can develop and sustain your personal brand. But then I'll go with the exercise. I told Dr. Walker I had an exercise or two, or maybe three for the audience. So who is this man? You know him? Well, if you don't, he's Steve Jobs. Or Steve Jobs. Have you heard his name before? If you have, do you admire him? If you do, I want you to post in the chat one word that describes Steve Jobs based on how you perceive him. We have prizes, guys. And I'm going to ask Dr. Walker to help me with the answers, maybe in 30 seconds. So I'm taking a pause here. Maybe I should drop my answer as well, just in case I win the prize. Are we at 30 seconds?
We are now.
All right. So Dr. Walker, can you read a few of the, and I'm just gonna grab my notebook so I can write it down myself. Can you read a few of the words that dropped in the chat?
Yes, well, Patty had flames on her fingers with the first response that said innovative.
Okay.
We have brilliant, brilliant, intuitive, real, innovator, storyteller, innovative, innovative, motivated, focused, and original, non-traditional, creative, a risk taker, an entrepreneur, resilient, and more innovative and more intelligence. Lots of innovative and intelligence there.
All right, let's pause there. So what that tells me is that is your perception of Steve Jobs. You could tell it's different. Some people said the same things, but they're all good things, right? So that is his legacy. That is his personal brand. He's dead and gone, but I'm asking you today, those are the answers you're giving. And I'm sure in the generations to come, our young children will be able to connect and relate to that perception based on the legacy that is left behind. So what is your personal brand? You see it. Your personal brand, this is you in the middle. Your personal brand is what you do every day. It is your strength, it is your weaknesses, it is your expertise, it is the attributes you bring to the table, it is your core value. We live our personal brand every day. The only difference is we're just maybe sometimes unintentional about it. Now, the reason for this conversation tonight is to get you to realize you have to be intentional about branding yourself. You have to be your brand ambassador. You have to control what people think or perceive you to be. But you have to connect those to your core values. Otherwise, it would not be fulfilling. So how do you do that? I love this slide because it tells me it's plants, right? I love plants. I just can't keep them to stay longer when I buy them, but you'd have to put in the work. You know, you get the right soil, you water them, and then they grow out, they bear fruits that you love, and then you get the reward. That's the reward, right? So how do you develop that personal brand that is fulfilling to you? How do you show people who you are so that they can really see the value that you bring to the table? I have 3 simple rules. The first one is you must be aware of what your brand is. Your current brand is what you should know. How can you do that? You should first of all ask yourself, what is my brand? What are my core values? What are my interests, right? I'm going to go back and forth here. Okay. Let me go. Sorry about that. I put together some questions that should help you really determine exactly what your brand is. Really simple questions. Who am I? Where do I excel? What is room for improvement for me? What discourages me? What characteristics do I have that brings compliments my way? Where have I received constructive criticism? What truly makes me happy? What drains my energy? What can I do without pay and be happy, right? What is my passion, basically? So those questions will help you. Let's go back to the self-awareness piece. When you think about what your brand is and you finally understand what your brand is to yourself, you want to know what people think about you. What you can do is ask your friends, your co-workers to do the same exercise we just did with Steve Jobs, dropping a word that explains who I am. How do you perceive me, right? And when you do that, you begin to see that people may perceive you differently from what you perceive yourself. Now, if everybody keeps telling you you're nice, you're such a nice person, but that's not a description. They need to say something. You're a high performer, you bring a positive energy to the group, something. Once you get that out of them, you start to compare what you think of yourself and what others think of you. And then you try to align. Does it align? Does it make sense? If it doesn't, then what do? You self-reflect and then you take action. By taking action, I'm sorry. Why is it taking me to that one? Okay. Rule number 2, by taking action, it takes you to rule number 2. You create a plan. Your plan should consist of your goals. Where are you today? Where do you want to be tomorrow? What are your weaknesses today? How do you want to overcome them so you can be where you want to be? You also have to define your target audience. Are you trying to get a promotion at work? Are you trying to get yourself to the point where people in your community have respect for you? Do you feel like there's no respect within your family? That is branding. Branding is 360. It's work, it's family, it's community. Once you have that, you start to think about the gaps, identify what's missing. What do I need to do? How can I overcome these obstacles? And you put together a strategy. You define where you want to be, you validate your plan, and then you move to the third rule. Rule number 3, you take action. You will realize that you're always taking action. You always have to take action. In every rule, you have to take action. By taking action with rule number 3, I mean you have to be intentional. There's a difference about doing, and there's a difference with being intentional about doing, meaning you're head on. This is what I'm trying to get out of this. The first thing you have to think about may not be the first, but something that is relevant and key to growth is investing in your development. Organizations can do that for you. I happen to work for an organization that is big on, I'm sorry about that again. I happen to work for an organization that is very big on investing on its employees, but not everybody gets to be that lucky. I've had a situation where I had to invest in my development. I had to pay thousands of dollars to get IT certifications to land the job that I have right now. I had to do it. That was me investing in my development. Sign up for classes. Does it require coaching? Pay for it. Does it require certifications? Do it. By the end of the day, it's going to be rewarding to you. The next big thing is network. You want to expand your network. Don't just get comfortable with the people you know. I find networking to be very rewarding. In my case, I've had situations where out of networking, I've had so many opportunities laid in front of me that I landed jobs, I landed growth within my organization, and so much more. So just network your way through, find influential people. Networking is very tricky. You just don't network. I had one of my mentors tell me one time, she said, you can't spend your time hanging out with project managers. You will never grow. They will not hire you because they're seeking the same jobs that you're seeking to grow. You want to find mentors that are above, directors, right? AVPs and VPs. And I did that. Soon as I did that, I started influencing growth within my organization. So I take that very seriously. You have to get involved, go to seminars, go to community volunteer activities. You never know who you would meet. And that is just you taking action. I can tell you, I struggled to pay for one of our seminars, ILA. I showed up, I did a presentation, and then I networked. I came out of that conference with one connection that has changed my life forever. And that was just me taking action and being intentional. Your plan should always incorporate what are those steps. You have to be very, you have to define exactly what you need to grow. So now that we've talked about all 3 rules, I want you to know there's never cake without icing, or there could be, but for the most part, cake needs icing. You've laid that foundation. That is you building on your expertise. That is you performing on the job. That is you doing well. That is you getting promoted. What is that icing that you need? And Karen Kang, she gave me the perfect example that I was looking for. Here's your cake. It looks really beautiful. But what is the icing? What does it mean, cake versus icing? Your cake is your foundation. It is your rationale. It is your expertise that you bring to the table. It is your strength. It is your value. Your icing is important because it's your emotional value that you bring to the table. It's your personality. It's the smile. It's the swag. It's the style. Ever heard about, I love that manager, but can't spend 20 minutes in the room with them because they have the cake, the foundation, the expertise, but they lack the icing. You have to make sure you have both the cake and the icing to influence the outcome that you're seeking. I have a few examples. So you have a founder and a CEO of a company, could be a tech company, and they will be that guru, business savvy, visionary, right? But what is their icing? Inspirational? Do they inspire employees? Do they care? Are they philanthropists? Do they try to help the underprivileged? That would probably attract you to that CEO more than really the expertise. I just have a few examples. I'm not going to spend too much time looking at those. But the question is you. What is your role? What is your foundation? What is your expertise? What is the icing that you bring to the table? When you walk into that room, does everybody just want you to speak and go? Or are people actually waiting to talk to you after the meeting? Because you have that icing that they can approach you, they can talk to you, they can share their concerns. And that's for you to think about. And that leads us to our next exercise. One of my favorite actors. He's George Clooney. I don't know if all of you know him, but if you don't, well, he's George Clooney. You can Google him after this. The question I have for you is, what is his cake? What do you think? What are your thoughts around his cake and his icing? Just drop your answers in the chat room and Dr. Walker is going to help you with it. What is the foundation? What is the expertise he brings to the table? And what is the finesse or the icing? And we have 30 seconds, Dr. Walker. I love this exercise.
People are really thinking about this one.
It's taking a while. Maybe this is where we pull the winner.
All right, I think that's time.
Okay. So what answers do we have?
Well, we had Gina in first on this one with authentic real. Susanna says he's handsome, LOL. We have Cake is great. His great acting skills, his icing is that he's personable and charismatic. His cake is that he's a talented actor. His icing is he's sexy. We've even upped the adjectives there. Ricky says what Julian says. Rosalinda says he's an actor and he's good looking. Tanya says he's smooth. Fab says he's intelligent and charismatic. We have more on his acting skills and charisma. Another acting and charisma, an actor and hot, talented and witty.
Ooh. Okay. There's really no right or wrong answer. I would say his cake is he's an excellent actor, a great producer. His icing, in my opinion, he has charisma, he has style, he's a philanthropist. Okay, Dr. Walker, I leave you to make that decision on who gets to get the prize, but let's move.
Okay.
Let's move on with how you can sustain your brand, right? So you put in the work, you understand the why, the how, you have a plan, you're taking action, you land that next promotion, you're at another level. How do you keep that going? Because that's not where you want to be for the rest of your life. Think about your reputation and your legacy. So it's a long road. How do you sustain your personal brand? And I try to keep it really simple. You have to continue learning. You have to stick with another development plan. You have to take a step back, self-reflect, understand where the opportunities are, think about what you can do to grow, enhance, and evolve. Think about what you need to do to expand your territory. Take on more challenges, right? I used to really hate public speaking. I still don't like it, but I have to do it because I'm building on my personal brand and I'm building on my legacy. I know the impacts that come with speaking to people I know the benefits that come with it, and I get a sense of fulfillment. So I try to push myself to do it. That's a big challenge for me, but I do it anyways. Be authentic. Just bring your best self. It doesn't have to be perfect. Oftentimes, we try to be so perfect that we make too many mistakes and we lose opportunities. By being authentic, I mean expressing what you can do, what you cannot do, where you need help. Um, I'm sorry. I remember going when I approached the first person, I was really bold about it. I said, "Can you be my mentor?" Maybe that was kind of rough, uncut, and I got a rejection. The answer I got was, "Well, I'm kind of busy. I don't have time, but good luck." To me, that was okay. And no is okay. And then I asked a few more people and they accepted and they changed my life. But guess what? I was never afraid to ask. I decided to ask. The next thing is don't be afraid to fail. The truth is, when you fail, you learn. And when you learn, you grow. And when you grow, the opportunities become endless. I've landed jobs just because I asked, or because I expressed myself. I would like to be this and that and that. I want to be that, but I don't know if I'm ready yet. And someone will always remember this. When you are authentic, when you ask, there's always somebody watching. And when they watch, when that opportunity hits, they think about you. So don't try to be somebody you're not. Don't try to be a glory chaser. Don't try to identify with the group that you don't fit in. Just be you. If you have weaknesses that you have to work on them and grow. And people will see that. And when it's time, they will pull you in and put you on the table. The next one, which I think is really key, is managing your relationships. How do you manage those relationships? You still continue to expand your network. By networking, you have to seek new mentors. Sometimes you have to switch mentors, not because you don't care about the mentors that you have, or the sponsors or the advocates, but because the mentors you have currently may not be good. No, they could be good enough, but they may not be influential in getting you to that next level. So I encourage you to maintain the mentoring relationship with the previous ones, but build on new ones. You have to continue to grow. Now be your brand ambassador. There's nothing as bad as somebody being your brand ambassador. That means they could just say anything about you. But when you manage your brand, you are your ambassador. You would always review, revise, and refine. Your elevator pitch may change in between jobs, in between career growth, but you are always in control of those things. Managing your online presence. We live and breathe social media. How do you manage that? You're director of a company. What does your Facebook say about you? Does it reflect who you are? Does it reflect what you represent? How can you influence on social media or Twitter or LinkedIn? Those are things you have to consider. So we have that. Just wanted to wrap this up with this very important saying or quote that I pulled from a book that I read recently. It's about bridging the opportunity gap. It says, life is a tale of many climbs. Your first climb is maybe your promotion that you were rooting for. Your next climb could be different. It's a tale of many climbs. And I think until you die, you will be climbing, right? And as you climb, the responsibilities become different. The needs become different. The requirements change. So your plans change. Your network changes. Your mentors change. And that's what you do. It's a 360 development plan that you should never break away from. That said, I just pulled a few suggested readings that could help anyone interested. I can always post that in the chat room at the end of this. Now, third exercise. Now that's a trick exercise. That's me. Why I put this on here was because I wanted you to see the difference between me starting the conversation or the presentation If I asked you at the very beginning, what do you think about Lizzie? Probably would not say anything. Most of you are meeting with me for the first time. You may not have built a perception. But if I ask the same question now, you would have a word that would describe me. And that is your perception of me. And I hope whatever that word is, it is good and it's something that is influential, right? So that brings me to the end of this presentation. Dr. Walker, over to you. And I'm going to stop sharing.
Thank you, Lizzie. What a wonderful presentation. Gina, Amin, what would you add to that?
I mean, it was amazing, very motivative. I mean, I'll say being a leader, we talk about personal brand at work all the time. And I have been in similar situation, the example you gave earlier, where you get promoted, you don't get promoted, but other people who just started got promoted. And I mean, and it's a true story for me as well. And I had to change my brand. I had to ask people for feedback, and I have learned. I accept feedback, I learn from it, and I improve on it. Because I tell my team, I said, feedback is a blessing. When you give me a feedback, I'm going to be a better leader who will serve you better. So definitely share feedback. So personal branding is very important. I know here in US, it's important. Wherever you work, it needs it. I mean, I'm from East Africa. Nobody cared about branding. Who cares about branding? But it is important. If you want to move up in different roles, your branding, people need to be able to say things about you when you're not in the room, right? Like if you're not there, your people should be saying, oh my God, Amin did a great job, or Lizzie did a great job. We love Lizzie. We love her motivation speaker. So yeah, definitely. I agree with you. Great conversation, Lizzie. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I just want to add, I'm African-American woman, and, I know that there are other factors that play into the fact that you weren't getting promoted, because the reality is, there's not a lot of Black managers, and so there are other factors in there. So the fact that you were able to, plow through that and continue to move forward, it shows a level of resiliency, but it's very, it's draining sometimes, that we have to go to such bounds to go around what the true issue is, implicit bias, all of those things. And so I think, the way I've built my personal brand is around authenticity, my passion. People see me, Gina has a lot of passion. So it's because of what I've done that kind of have helped that shape. But I just kind of put my stake in the ground, like you said, and plowed forward with it. And, when people see you walking in a room, there's certain things, top 3 things they would think about you is because you have shaped your personal brand. And so that's what I've done. But just knowing that there's always other factors, it's not just you, there's other factors outside of you that prevent you from moving up into that position, and that you plowed through that and just acknowledge that, build resilience around it, and keep moving forward. And that's why you're on this call today. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'll say you have to do your part, right? I always say this at work. I dress the part until I get the part. So
Amen.
do your part. I know there's bias that exists, but I choose not to focus on that. I do my part, and I'll tell you, I've landed on really great opportunities because I was just bold about what I'm looking for. And I dress the part. I walk up to you. I'm always nicely dressed. I try to do that. I don't go for it's dress down Friday, because people will judge you regardless, whether you dress down, whether it's mandatory, but how you dress down matters. So I would say do your part and just leave the rest to the opportunity that presents itself.
Lizzie, we have a question from a group. This was from Heather. How does one start networking?
So you look out how I started. is you look out for events and activities that are going on within your circle or within your job. There's always something going on at work, whether it's a potluck where people come together, or it's a leadership meeting that brings the department together. That could be your first stop. That's what worked for me. I did my first potluck. I came with very spicy food, and because I love spicy, and so people tasted African cuisine. I added a little French to it, and everybody was attracted to it. And that's how I started my network. And I started talking about where I would like to be, what I'm really interested in. Then we exchanged numbers. We took it out of the job to meeting outside of work, bringing the kids together. So you want to start with what's comfortable and available to you. Then you can expand it. You can expand by attending conferences. Look up conferences that are coming up in your area. If you don't want to spend too much money traveling, I don't care about spending that money to travel, because I see the benefits that come with networking. So I don't know if I answered that question, but that's what I would recommend.
Thank you for that. We have one more question. Do you have to adapt to your personal brand based on situation, or do you stick with your brand?
Okay, that's so your personal brand has to be somewhat fluid. You have to have your core values, those things that you cannot move away from, you cannot change. But between those things, you can be flexible. If your value is, let's just say, for example, I don't eat pork, and there's a potluck at work, and you show up and someone insists that, oh, this pork, you don't have to eat pork to fit in. And I keep insisting on you just being authentic. There are many factors that will build your personal brand. There's the performance at work, there's the style that you bring, there's the value add. So it just doesn't depend on one thing, it depends on a whole bunch of it. But all of it, I'm sorry, everything has to connect to your core values. To me, that is what matters. What do I value most? And how can I walk around those values? You should learn to say no sometimes if it doesn't align.
Thank you so much for that. Another question we have is, since there's such an importance on online presence, what tips could you give to those who try to minimize online use?
I don't think the problem is how much you use social media. I'm assuming that's what the question is about, social media, right? I don't think that the problem is how much you use it, is how well you use it. Now, if you work for an organization, you are the brand ambassador for that organization. You obviously don't want to be found on Facebook or seen on Facebook drinking, getting drunk, acting crazy. You can post all you want. Sometimes I post 4 times a day, but I'm posting inspirational quotes, I'm posting leadership stuff that other people can learn from, or I'm advocating against domestic abuse and human trafficking. So when you pull me up on social media, those are the things you would see. That is my brand. That is my elevator pitch. It matches what I post. So it's not about not posting, it's about being conscious and intentional about what you post, because that is what your brand is.
That's a great answer, Lizzie. I mean, and I personally appreciate that, just because I'm not a big social media person, but for me, be conscious of what you post, and people should know when they talk about you, they should tie back to, oh yeah, I remember he posted something, or he's always posting about certain things, or because that's what matters. So that's the brand you want to reflect. I have one more question before we close out. What recommendation do you have on coming across more confident, making that part of your brand? Like, I guess the question is, how do you come across as a confident person?
By just doing. Just do more. just do more, just show up and do it. Chances are the first few times you may not do it. There's no right or wrong in my world. You may not do it as you're supposed to, but what happens is the more you do it, the more you suck at it, excuse my French, the better you get at it. And I use myself as an example all the time. I hate taking pictures. I don't like it, but I have to take it sometimes because I get, oh, can you send me a professional headshot? So I have to have pictures. I hate doing public speaking, but to build my confidence, I have to do it. To grow, I have to do it. To excel, I have to do it. To motivate, I have to do it. So you cannot just sit and build on that confidence. You have to do it. Practice, get it done, fail, stand up, keep it moving, and just you will get it at some point. I'm still on the journey though. I'm waiting for the day Dr. Walker will tell me, Lizzie, you know what, you got it. And I'm still going on until she tells me that. I hope I answered the question.
Thank you. That was amazing. Thank you so much. I don't see any more questions on the chat.
Yeah, so
So-
I'll kick it off, or end it, I should say, with our last two announcements. Unless Gina, you had anything else to add there, or Susanna?
I was gonna say thank
No,
you
thank
for everybody participating. Definitely, I would encourage, if you're thinking about branding yourself, definitely use us on LinkedIn, connect with us.
Yeah, terrific suggestion. We invite everyone's participation. I'd like to announce that Patricia Dameron has won our prize. Woohoo! She was the first one to respond to any of the questions tonight. So I have private messaged her for her address and email. So we will get that prize to you. Thank you, Patricia. And I'd like to extend, on behalf of all of the Association for Leadership Professionals, student leaders who are amazing, by the way, wonderful people, I'd like to extend an invitation to our May 27th event, same time, same place. We're going to be hearing from Magnus Jansen, who is a longtime project manager for big companies like Nestle and a few others. And he's going to be talking about leading under pressure, how to be a successful project manager. So come and hear his wisdom next month. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.